Wednesday. That's right, it's Wednesday. I'm about to begin a 4-day weekend. So I'm pretty excited about that. Next couple days, I'm going to be spending doing some garage sailing, always looking for vinyl records and CDs and Blu-rays and stuff like that. So I'm pretty excited that my little mini vacation is about to begin. But anyhow, my wife is away at a little birthday party, and I find myself just around the house, just doing some chores and just trying to get the house in order to make it easier on her. And as is often the case, while I'm working, I spend a lot of time thinking about stuff. And I want to tell you a story about when I was really little. And it just kind of speaks to what's up. What's up, man? ONGE 1960. Good day, mate. So I'm going to tell you a story that will just kind of let you know. What's up, Chance? Andre. Oh, I'm sorry. How you doing, Andre? Good to see you, man. Tell you just a quick story about what a staunch Adventist I already was. Wait for it. By the fourth grade. By the fourth grade. Don't know if I've ever told you guys this story, so if I have, I apologize, but I was a pretty staunch Adventist. And here's how the story goes. So, as long as I can remember, I was in the church. And if you want, you can look online, go to the Zanesville, Ohio, Seventh-day Adventist Church. It's on Taylor, I think it's Avenue. That's the church I was when I was born. That's the church I went to. I knew the man who built that church. I was baptized in that church. Grandmother's funeral and memorial was held in that church. My aunt. So I just have all this history. Still have family at that church. So I went there as a kid, and my parents moved to Tacoma Park, Maryland. Why? Because my dad was going to go to CUC, Columbia Union College, another Seventh-day Adventist college. He was going to go there to go to school. And so my parents moved me there, and I was probably 5. I can say that because I immediately went to a Seventh-day Adventist kindergarten. I then, in first grade, I attended John Nevins Andrews Seventh-day Adventist school as well, first grade. I moved back, my parents moved back to Zanesville, where at the Zanesville church there was a church school there. And so first grade was in Tacoma Park, Maryland, and then second and third grade was at this Seventh-day Adventist church school. And I went to school, no, Maggie, I went to school, my dog now. I went to school with my cousins, yeah. So anyhow, fourth grade, third grade actually, there was a teacher at the Adventist church school that I didn't get along with. My sister didn't get along with. My parents didn't really care for her. And so they pulled me out, and they sent me to a public school just down the street from me. It was called Licking View Elementary. Again, you can look that up. It's no longer a school, but you can see exactly where it was. Zanesville, Ohio, Licking View Elementary. And it was there that I went to school in the fourth grade, and I met a teacher by the name of Miss Smith, who I am still in contact with today. At 53 years old, I am still friends with my fourth grade teacher, Miss Smith. She was just a wonderful woman who truly, quite frankly, I am the man I am today because of Miss Smith. She was great. But I just need to tell you some things. When I went to school there, one of the things you had to do was you had to tell kids your name. Who are you? And I'm Scott Roark. And and Roark, R-O-A-R-K, is not an easy name to pronounce, especially in the North. My name is often pronounced by people Roark, which I'll answer to. Roark, R-O-A-R-K, Roark. I'll answer to that. But my family comes from Tennessee. And so if you talk to them, it's Roark. That's how they say it. It's Roark, Roddy Roark. And so that's how I pronounced it. So listen, a good Seventh-day Adventist kid that I was, who believed everybody went to church, everybody. And so what better way for me to describe how to pronounce my name than to say Noah would row the ark, row ark, row ark. That was number one. And they just looked at me like, who's Noah? Because they didn't go to church. These were kids of the world, man. But I was versed. I was versed, bro. But here is really when I made my mark. Really when I made my mark. One day we were having lunch. We're having lunch there in my class, and somebody had like a ham sandwich. And I took it upon myself to inform my entire fourth grade class that it was a sin to eat pork. And there was all kinds of, it was a big hubbub. There was a lot of murmur, like, what are we talking about? Sin, pork, pepperoni? And I'm like, yes, you're not allowed to eat it. My teacher, Miss Smith, bless her heart, tried to do the best she could by stepping in and going, no, it's not a sin. And I can recall going, lady, you don't have a clue. I know. It's in the Bible, Leviticus. Like, I knew that it was a sin. And so she kind of has to pull me aside. And I don't know that my parents ever got called, but this is who I was in the fourth grade. I was ready and willing to stand up and tell all these kids it's a sin to eat pork. And I can very well recall, and this will also give you some insight into my mindset, even in the fourth grade. Next day, one of the popular girls came up to me in the cafeteria and she goes, hey, I was talking to my dad about what you said. Like, these kids already went home and talked. And she asks me, are you Jewish? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm Jewish. And so I went home and I had to ask my dad, am I Jewish? And he's like, no, you're not Jewish. He's like, your name is Roark. You're not Jewish. The point is, like, all I knew was we were supposed to obey that rule, and it was a sin. And so I was just thinking tonight as I was working about what a staunch Adventist I was. Like, it was already ingrained in me. Yeah, man. I was an Adventist kid, bro. I was all in. I'll tell you one more story, because it took place right around the same time. And again, if I've told you this story before, I apologize. So this story goes, on the Sabbath, obviously you weren't allowed, basically as a kid, you're not allowed to have fun. You can have fun if you want to play. There's an Adventist board game. It's called Egypt to Canaan. You could play that. Or there's another game called like The Life of Christ, another board game. And so you ask like these religious questions. And so you could play that, but it wasn't really very fun, especially for a boy who wants to be active and ride his bike. That's the thing. In my family, riding the bikes were out. There was definitely no swimming, no TV. I'm trying to think what we could do. We could listen to, there was this Christian radio program called Uncle Dan and Aunt Sue. Uncle Dan and Aunt Sue. You could listen to these Bible things where they would reenact it over the radio. Oh, man, maybe I have told this story. I apologize to anybody who's already heard this. But there was definitely no roller skating or anything. But my mom had recently bought us two things, a bike and skates. And my sister and I were just dying to do it. And so in our garage, the car was out and the garage door was closed. And so we got one of us got on the bike. Oh yeah. Okay. One of us got on the bike and the other one was on the roller skates. And there was a jump rope involved because the jump rope was tied to the bike seat. And so the person would hang on to the rope and the person riding the bike would just go into a circle. And listen, this garage was so dirty and disgusting. After about 4 or 5 revolutions, it was a dust storm. It was a dust storm, but we are having the most fun we've ever had on the Sabbath. We're just riding in a circle, surrounded by dirt. Yes, this is amazing. This is amazing. Round and round we go, and suddenly the door to the garage, bam, there's my mom. What are you doing? And I don't know if it was my sister or me that immediately said, we're we're pretending we're evangelizing. We're going door to door, and we're telling people about the second coming. Get off of those bikes. Get those skates off. Immediately we come up with a lie. But we had to. Because dude, this was how we were. We were Adventists through and through. And yeah, what are you gonna do? Anyhow, just a little lighthearted thing I thought I'd share with you guys tonight. Hope you're doing well. And we weren't Adventists, but still weren't allowed to go to parties, stay away from evil. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, yeah, that same elementary school, Licking View, like they would have like a dance, and we weren't allowed to go to that because that would often take place on a Friday night. There was one time I remember on a Saturday there was a dance, and so the sun went down and there was still some time, and y'all just don't understand as a fourth grade kid how ecstatic I was to be able to go in there with my friends because they're going to dances on Friday nights and I'm hearing about it on Monday morning, and they're talking about what'd you watch last night, and they're all talking about Dukes of Hazzard. That was a Friday night program. I never watched it, never saw it, but I wanted to see it because I saw the previews, with the Duke boys jump in that car. What fourth grade kid doesn't want to watch that? I did. I was dying to, but I couldn't do it. You need to understand, on that night when they dropped me off and I was able to run in there and hear the music playing and see the kids, dancing or standing around or whatever they were doing, it was so amazing to me to be able to do that. I'll never forget that. Did you go to your reunion? Yeah, I've gone. I went to my reunion, and it was a good time. Part of that probably is because a number of them are either not Adventists or they're very nominal Adventists, meaning they haven't been to church in a long time. They're really not interested in keeping the Sabbath. They're really not adhering to Mrs. White. But if you ask them what their religion is, what's their denomination, they tell you Seventh-day Adventist. And if all of a sudden some hard times struck their worlds, they probably run right back to church, into a Seventh-day Adventist church. But be that as it may, I do. I've told you guys this. I've went to Mount Vernon Academy, which is now closed, and I went to Collegedale Academy, and I go to both of those reunions, man. I go to both of those reunions. I enjoy seeing those kids and some of my family members at those reunions. It's a pretty good time. I'm not really bothered by it. Nobody's ever treated me poorly, so yeah. So that's it. That's it. Any other questions? Anything else you guys want to talk about tonight? I got nothing on my agenda here. Our friend was supposed to sit at that reunion. She's a former as well. Oh, Mimi, you're talking about the Mount Vernon Academy reunion. Am I correct? Or was that Collegedale? My friend was from Mount Vernon. Okay. Yeah. I actually, I actually never went for the reunion. There were like Sabbath services at the Hill Church there in Mount Vernon. I didn't go to that. Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of my I'll go to reunion, and I may even like Collegedale Academy. I've literally went to the school, but I'm not going into the church. And so the same is true Mount Vernon. Like I wouldn't go into the church. Like no, I just cannot bring myself to it. That being said, the Zanesville Seventh-day Adventist Church I have gone back into. I will go back into that one. It was the church I was raised in. My family are there, So but everybody pretty much knows where I stand. So yeah, but I'm pretty much avoiding Adventist churches at all costs. Anything else you guys want to talk about tonight? I'm down to talk about anything. I'll give you guys a moment here if you have a thought and you want to throw that in the chat. I haven't been in one for 25 years. Yeah. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. You know, I find it funny. I posted something on a Facebook like former Adventist page about what. Here was the thought: was it just me? I said, or was Communion Sabbath the least attended? And what I can vividly remember at the last Adventist church I was a part of, what we would do is there would be like Sabbath school or whatever, and then everybody would come up to the sanctuary. And if memory serves, like we wouldn't remind them. We wouldn't remind them that it was communion because we knew what would happen. And sure enough, what would happen is after Sabbath school, everybody, adults and kids, are all up there in the sanctuary, and we would announce that it was communion, and so we were now going to go and do the foot washing. Now, some people were really put off by that. It never seemed to bother me. Foot washing never seemed to bother me. In fact, there were a couple occasions that, like, the foot washing kind of forced some reconciliation between me and some friends, if there had been some difficulties. So I never really minded that. Besides, like every Adventist, if I knew it was communion Sabbath, I made sure to wash my feet really, really good that day. Anyhow, but what would happen, the story, what I'm going to tell you is, what would happen is everybody would leave the sanctuary and head down this flight of stairs, and then you have the what do you call it? I don't know what. You'd have this main floor, and then there's another set of stairs down into the basement. And what would happen every single time is you get a bunch of people who would hear that it's Communion Sabbath. They go down the first set of stairs and out the door. They don't go into the basement. They just leave. And it happened time and time again. And I always attributed it to Adventism being so focused upon your sin, your distance from God, your unworthiness. I'm not going to argue any of those things, but there's something about Adventism that makes those people feel so much guilt, and they simply cannot bring themselves to even sometimes take communion because they're just so overwhelmed with it, and it's very, very sad. It's one of my favorite things to take communion. It's just really powerful. Please keep me in your prayers. I'm finding it hard to deconstruct emotionally. My whole family and my wife's family are all SDA. Alpha Matter. Yeah, we can do that. We certainly can do that. Yeah, that's too bad. It's not easy. You know, I was very lucky that my parents were kind of leaving at the same time I was. My wife was right there with me, so I kind of had that support. But I can't imagine my friend. I have a friend who's in a very similar situation. It feels like he's literally living behind enemy lines. So, yeah, the best lies are the ones that have a little truth. Yeah, exactly. My wife accepted that I have left, but she's still going through emotionally since they would ask her how she's doing when she's going to church, and I'm sure it's taking a toll on her emotionally. Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. That's that's a tough one. Absolutely. I wasn't raised STA, but found the foot washing uncomfortable. Yeah, you're not alone in that. I'm suffering immensely because of STA influence on my family. Oh, I didn't know that, Marie. That's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that. You got to find some former Adventist friends, either on Facebook or some social media or something, and they can be a support to you. Even this group right here. If you guys aren't doing it already, every now and then on the YouTube page, there is a tab called Community. And what I'm doing is just sometimes posting like just little thoughts that come into my head in the morning when I'm doing devotions or whatever. So check those out. Feel free to write in there, give your comments if you need some prayers. Use that as a vehicle to do that. Well, my wife has made it home, and she has come and sat here beside me. So I'm going to go ahead and close for tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thanks for listening to the story, and hope to see you guys real soon. Again, I mean this in all sincerity. Please keep Test the Prophet in your prayers, and Miles with Answering Adventism. You can also pray for Examining Adventism, SDA Q&A. All these former sites really need our prayers and our support. If you're not following those pages, if you're not subscribing to them, and please do so. Please like the videos. All those things that you do increase the likelihood of those videos being watched, and some of you here have reached out to me and told me what a powerful impact these things have had. So please do that, all right? Anyway, have a great rest of your week, and I will see you very soon. God bless you guys.